Today I want to talk about the mind, about some of our issues, excuse me, about how the mind creates the problems and the issues in our mind, and how we can remedy them. This is Tom. It's the INFJ experience. So typically, the INFJ personality type is an isolated type, as we know. That's one of our key components that seems to be one of the most understood aspects as to who we are. Not just INFJs, a lot of introverts go through this. Because we are isolated, we are loners, we tend to crave solitude and need solitude as introverts. So there are times in our life that when we are isolated, and if we are in a state of, let's just say a state of depression possibly, or maybe we're just in a low state, we may be alone with ourselves, and our isolation in our mind may become our biggest tormentor. In other words, we'll start just thinking how worthless you are, how much you fail, how much you can't succeed. Oh, your brothers or your sisters are better than you. Maybe your parents, maybe your siblings, maybe your boss's words will come back to you and you'll start saying, yeah, they're right. I guess I am too slow, or I am just not quick enough, or I'm not getting these jobs done enough. Or maybe a spouse is saying it. I mean, maybe it's nobody. Maybe it's just your own mind. Maybe you're cutting yourself down and it's just yourself. But bottom line is, you're going to start believing what you're thinking. Your mind will become your greatest tormentor. And so it'll get to a point where you'll actually start believing your own mind. You'll actually feel comfort temporarily in the fact of the cut down, where you start saying, yeah, I guess I am worthless. Yeah, I guess I am this. And you actually feel like a sense of slight relief knowing that you're somehow agreeing with this. I'm not sure how I know this, but I just remember that this is how it tricks you into thinking, why you keep going through perpetuating these thoughts in your mind. You should keep cutting yourself down. Because somehow, by playing the victim, playing the bad guy, and agreeing with it, it's almost like you're judging yourself. You're actually self-loathing. And you're becoming your own worst enemy at that point, when your mind just keeps going into these. So after saying that, I mean, I think we all go there from time to time, especially early on. And some of you younger ones may have been feeling this at some point. I mean, it's just a common thing, especially with men. The young men especially have a low self-esteem and deal with self-worth. And not to say women don't get it, but I mean, it's a common thing with the young men as far as that goes, especially the INFJ men. These are happening, like I said, it's because of our isolation. It's because of our cut down. Somehow we're being accepting of this. We're trying to play the victim. We're trying to put our own selves as the bad guy, and we're just trying to almost pity ourselves. Now we get into that self-pity. And that self-loathing will start kicking in. Very depressive states in our lives, folks. When these things start happening, and usually there's nobody to talk to because we might be isolated as well, and we're fatigued, we're self-deprivating, we're loathsome at this point, we're feeling like that, and we almost feel like we're just almost ready to. So it can get very depressing. And I think we've been in these low points in our lives before. We do eventually come out of them. I mean, I did. Eventually, I would go into these depressive states. I would think these things. I would let them churn. And eventually, it seems as though they passed. But they didn't completely pass. A lot of times, even though you get out of the depressive state, you still have this mind that's constantly telling you you're not good enough. You're not good enough. That girl down the street, she'll never like you. There's just don't even bother trying to meet her. She'll never like you. She'll think you're weird. She'll think you're a creep right off the bat. So you tell yourself right away, people aren't good enough. So you don't even try. You don't even want to try sometime. Don't even bother getting that job or doing this or talking to somebody about a certain situation because you'll never be good enough. And you tell yourself this. So you kind of keep yourself in the background. You keep yourself low. You keep yourself small. There has to be a moment where you realize this is what you're doing to yourself. I guess the biggest thing you can do in these situations is actually to realize what you're doing. A realization has to kick in that you can't do this. This is your own mind doing this to you. And it has to come to a point where you realize that this is only destroying yourself. You're putting yourself lower. You're not elevating yourself. Maybe you think you're bettering yourself in some ways, but your mind is always there, cutting you down. And it does do that. So at some point, it's got to come to a point where, you don't just fill yourself with happy thoughts. I mean, you don't just say, oh, okay, I'll just play happy music and things like that. I mean, to an extent, it's just all that's doing is just creating an artificial outer stimulation that's just going to kind of fool you or just, make you put a hand. But I think we're smart enough to realize that that's not the way to go. And so there has to be a change from within yourself in order to find it. There has to be where you are able to recognize your faults, recognize what you're doing to yourself, and just have an awareness that this is what's going on. Now, I don't say don't stop thinking of it because the thoughts are already there. You've trained and conditioned your mind to do this. It might have taken years where you just kind of let it go, okay, and you let this happen. But now you're starting to see the destructive path. You start to see how it's not helping you by doing this. Right away, just understanding that you are going through this. And this is your own worst enemy, is your own mind. So it has to come to a point where you're actually not believing or falling victim to what your mind is doing. It has to come down to a point where if you're able to reflect and sit quiet, sit still every day, as we do, through meditation, through just focusing, by just trying to separate your thoughts, as in the meditation exercise, and separating from the whirlpool of your mind, of your thoughts, and kind of separating and getting out of them into the stillness. You got to sit back and watch your thoughts from afar. And these negative thoughts are going to be there, but somehow you have to kind of segregate yourself from them so that you're not caught up in the swirl of them. And you're not thinking of yourself as the victim, as the bad guy, as the loser, as the weirdo. Whatever these thoughts are going through your mind, they have to just be looked at. I mean, like I said, your mind is almost got a mind of its own. I mean, there's parts of your mind, you can't just shut off your mind. I mean, we know our mind goes constantly. There's no rest for our mind, and it will never stop. So at this point, since you can't turn it off, you have to separate your thoughts from your stillness in your mind. And this takes a lot of discipline, people. This is one of the most disciplining things we can do as human beings, not just introverts or INFJs. This is a human condition. Being that we tend to be a depressive, very isolated state, we're prone to these kind of things more than some other types typically, and that's why I'm addressing us as INFJs for this especially. So the only thing I think is that it takes a practice. It takes a practice. It's not something that's done overnight, but it has to be a mind control, almost a thought, not a thought control, but just a separation of your thoughts. So as you practice meditation, as you practice your stillness, you are going to actually almost divide your mind almost. Leave your thoughts over here. Leave that swirl of your thoughts, these negative thoughts especially, and find a calm stillness. Almost like find that inner eye, that eye of the storm that you search for in your meditation, and try to have it as a tool in order to separate from these negative thoughts. And over time, they will fade. They'll start to just dissolve. It won't be overnight, but it has to be a constant watch. You have to be aware of this. Pretty much is perpetual. As perpetual as your mind is that's thinking, cutting you down, you also have to kind of be your own balance. You have to stay in this calm spot of your mind. And that has to be as perpetual as that. So as you find yourself getting pulled back into the whirlpool of your misery, of your thoughts, just as that's happening, you have to pull yourself back into your calmness, into your stillness, in order to divide your thoughts. And eventually these thoughts will start to dissolve. Now, I'm not saying all of a sudden you're going to be successful and rich and all that. I mean, depending on how you want to go with your life. I mean, obviously, if you want to pursue success, yes, by all means, but getting out of your mind and separating from your destructive mind is your first clue. So I hope that helped. I mean, these are practices that personally I had to overcome in my own life. And I think a lot of INFJs, from what I've heard, I've experienced as far as through my communication with some of them over the years, is that yes, we all do. They suffer from the same similar mind viruses that we all go through, and we're always in these state of depressions. So people, I hope that helped. I mean, that's one of the most fundamental drawbacks is to who we are. And a lot of our problems stem from our own mind and how we either let it help us, like our guardian angel, let our guardian angel guide us, or are we going to let these destructive mind viruses just kind of be our own worst enemy? They're going to just be our own villains in our own mind. So that's what we got to think about. So you need to get out of your mind as far as that. Stop hating yourself. Stop blaming yourself. Stop being a victim, and separate your mind, your thoughts from your stillness. Well, people, I said quite a bit. I mean, that's a lot of what our problems are and where they stem from, and where our depressive state comes from. After saying that, in my life right now, as I am, at this age, I've overcome a lot. I mean, I'm still fairly an isolated guy. I spend a lot of time alone. I don't have a lot of acquaintances or friends. I mean, I do work. I have a functioning life. I'm relatively happy. I'm not abundantly happy, but I mean, I'm not sad. I mean, I'm kind of like, I feel a fulfillment. It wasn't an easy road, but a lot of it was overcoming these demons, these negative demons that are constantly trying to put a wedge in between us and our success, our happiness in our life. So people, I hope you liked that segment. I guess I could call this segment overcoming our own mind and moving past that. And so if you would, give me some thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I'm also going to try to send another video this way that aligns with this one. So people, thank you so much for your time, and thank you again, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.